Spooky! My name is Zach, and you are listening to Movie Dicks.
Who said that?
I'm stuck on rewind. Ooh.
I'm going crazy.
I am Zach.
I'm Tristan.
These guys are drama queens. I'm Josh.
So, we watched a movie this week. This week we'll be starting our 6-week Halloween marathon.
Woo!
Josh, what did we kick off with?
We watched a movie called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It is a 2019 film based on the books of the same name. The first of those 3 books were published in 1981. They tell an assortment of folk horror stories aimed at children, teens, I wouldn't say young adults, but teens. It's most well remembered for the creepy art, which caused lots of controversy in many school districts throughout the country. I remember some of those. And the movie was surprisingly okay in some areas and very disappointing in others. So it begins...
And so it begins.
With a... Yes, so it begins, right, in 1968, I believe, which I didn't catch the year date, so I assumed it was the 80s, because I saw the walkie-talkies. I must have looked away for 2 seconds. So I'm like, oh, it's the 80s.
Oh, yeah, this is just the
but
third
then nothing
season.
really made
this is
sense.
the third season of what?
Stranger
Yeah, it's
Things.
just Stranger Things.
Well, you'd think it would make sense to set it in the 80s, but simultaneously that's been done to death now, so they're probably looking to avoid that. But the audience grew up in the 80s of these books, so setting it in the 60s is almost strange. Like, I feel like almost setting it in the 1800s would have made more sense.
Well, it seemed like this would have been when
partially
the author of the book, Alvin Schwartz, was growing up. Would have been around this time.
Yeah, exactly. But those people like aren't as nostalgic for these stories as say people, late 30s, early 40s would be. But all the same,
Maybe,
it's not that important.
maybe the 80s just wasn't as scary of a time. Because
Well, yeah,
fucking,
Stranger
you got
Things.
height of Vietnam going on. Nixon's about to be fucking president. It's goddamn terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked the same with Reagan. Before the shooting war on.
He just looks so friendly.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there you go again, Mr. Gorbachev.
and I would stand by the people of this country in Star Wars, and we're gonna shoot the commies with our space gun there.
Do you have any comment on the Contra controversy?
Are you having a stroke?
Anyway,
I yeah,
so-
the con.
yeah.
What?
There we go. Perfect. I was like, does he not
Where's
follow?
the monkey? Bring in Bonzo.
Nancy, where's I pooped my pants?
So, the movie uses one of the short stories, which I believe is called The Haunted House, as the framework to tell the other stories in the book. Which is an interesting choice because...
Were there like better stories you would have picked? Because I know you've read these. You grew up reading these.
Yeah, I grew up reading these. They picked the right ones for the most part. Some of the other ones there might be a couple that were really famous, like the Hook one, it's really famous, but that's been done to death in many other things, so there's really no reason to bring that one
You
in.
want to indulge us a moment and tell us the Hook story?
Oh, the Hook story is a guy and a girl are in makeout, and some makeout looking point.
Is she a hooker?
She could be theoretically. We're not divulged that information. So
maybe
who knows what
she's
happened.
going to be a future hooker.
Right, future. We'll think about that. A
Aren't
girl who's
they
a
all?
future hooker. Oh, God.
Aren't we
Let's
all?
stay there. Aren't we all? So, but they're making out, and they hear like a story on the radio saying that an escaped lunatic is on the loose, and they're like, "Oh, that's no big deal." And like something happens, and they open the door, and there's a hook on the handle or something. I don't know. I don't remember all the details.
And yeah, the serial killer was known for using a hook, and it was
Was
Yeah,
it like
yeah.
a
in their
meat
car
hook
and-
or
Yeah.
like a longshoreman hook or like
Like Captain Hook.
oh shit, is it a fucking pirate hook?
Yeah, it's like a pirate hook, like straight up. That's how I believe it was described. So I'm kind of glad they didn't put that one in because that's already been done to death. But they did some other ones that are pretty.
Oh, it's just old Mr. Johnson's. He lost his hand in Nam.
Right. So,
but Nam was just starting, and he's not old. Wow.
So let's start with some of the characters, right?
Oh, he's
so
only like
Zoe.
20. He just looks like he's 85.
Because he's seen some shit,
yeah.
You know?
So we have
I've seen some stuff.
four main characters. We have Zoe is the main girl.
No, not
Zoe.
Zoe. Your name's Stella.
No.
Stella.
No, it's not.
Stella. There's some name symbolism there. It's the only reason I remembered it.
Oh, I looked at Zoe's the actress.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I don't know who the fuck played her. I don't know.
Well, I have all these names written backwards. So yeah. So it doesn't matter. We have three.
What is it? Carl's line from Hogwarts? It don't matter. None of this matters.
None of this matters.
We have three people: 2 girls, 2 guys. We have a guy who thinks he's a clown. He's well read, kind of nerdy, whatever.
It's
and we got the girl,
it's
outcast,
a commedia dell'arte character.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a Pierrot.
I didn't know you could say virgin in so many ways. So,
Oh!
and then you have the other guys, kind of like the extroverted, short Napoleon, but nerd, but he's brave.
Yeah, like he's
guy.
more popular than those guys, but he's still hanging out with them. So not
yeah,
really.
exactly.
He's the Jewish kid.
He didn't go past it.
Who's slightly
Oh,
racist.
Just and then you have the Hispanic guy who, whatever his name is.
It's like
Ramon.
Ramon, or it's something like that.
Ramon.
Morales.
Yeah. Ramon, who they meet in the drive-thru as they're watching, or driving, as they're watching Night of the Living Dead. Yeah. And so,
of course, him and Stella hit it off right away.
So kind of would say, right. Of course,
she digs zombie movies, man. It's on. It's fucking on.
It's on.
Well,
she has
like a 4-way thing going because at one point all of the guys.
Whoa, I missed that part of the movie. When was the 4-way? Is that in the deleted scenes?
Yeah, which version did you watch?
They're kind
Damn
of,
it! I watched the wrong version.
They all seem to like her, but some are more. I don't know.
No, I see your point. Yeah. Like she's got the clearest one is she immediately likes Ramon, but she's got 2 guy friends. And what was it? The virgin, as you put it, Josh. Mr. Pierrot. He's perving on the other kid's sister.
The other guy's sister, yeah.
He's like, don't fucking stare at my sister, you perv. And he's like, I just think she's really special. It's like, dude, you like all girls.
Yeah.
Because he completely forgets about Stella as soon as the sister is available, is in eyesight.
Because the clown guy doesn't like girls, that's why.
Ooh,
it's a cover.
So that's deep. We'll get to the secret meanings. So it instantly, what's the word for it? My expectations.
It seems like a very classic setup.
Yeah.
It almost did, except that the kids are the first ones to pull the prank on the jocks.
Yeah, that's a nice little subversion there.
Yeah, that's the subversion.
They were already planning it from the beginning. It had already been set. So
they fish out a human turd.
Yeah. Stuff had happened, and now this was the Halloween where they were going to get back.
And how do they do this? How do they get their revenge?
Eggs and a bag of flaming dog shit.
It's a trap!
No, that wasn't dog shit. That was human shit. He fished it out of his own toilet.
He did
His
indeed.
sister asked him, what are you doing?
So,
what
else?
They caught that on fire.
Just trying to fish turds out of a man's fucking toilet!
Exactly. And they threw that in the guy's car while he's driving, with his sister driving shotgun.
Yeah, they don't...
And then egg the car.
Yep.
That's like 10 years.
This was cardinal sin number 1 was for me with this movie was the setup, the prelude before they actually start pelting the car. Dude just stands there with his sack held out like he's fucking, Roadrunner laying a trap for Wile E. Coyote. And of course the guy falls for it because every year he would snatch that bag of candy from him, with his car.
It's probably expected.
Yeah.
It's probably expected. This is what happens. The kid gives me his candy, or I kick his ass.
Yeah, exactly.
It's this year I'm going to give him my poop and he's on fire.
But he just stands there with the fucking, he holds it out for the guy to grab, waiting, How stupid
I
can
think
you
at that
be?
point I knew the movie was going to start going downhill.
I thought there was going to be like a beehive in there or something.
Yeah,
really
right. An actual bomb, and one of the kids died. That would have been kind of cool.
I thought that when the car crashed, it was going to explode, go into the house. The people in the house were going to die. Just worse and worse from there. Just them trying to cover up all the
until
awful
Nixon
things
nukes his own country. That would have been amazing.
That escalated quickly.
Exactly.
Movie over.
The kid's the last person alive. Right? That's a scary story.
It's just Stella like back at her dad's place, like watching as Nixon becomes president. Roll credits.
Yeah, you see in the beginning that it's Dean Norris from Breaking Bad, and you're like, oh man, he's probably going to have a lot to do in this. No. Shows up for maybe 2 minutes. Whole movie.
Just gets to be a single
also,
fella.
they set a lot of stuff up with that, like apparently Stella's mom left, and it was supposed to be some kind of plot point, but then they never really said why she left.
It was Stella's fault.
Yeah, Stella's like, oh, it's my fault. Your dad's like, no, it's not your fault. But it's like,
everybody
okay,
says
what
was.
Happened? Yeah, what happened to your mom?
I think that's for the sequel, but we'll get to that later.
Okay. Yeah, she finds her mom.
So they go to the drive-in.
Yeah. She's been possessed by
then the
demons
bully
and shit.
returns home, and then we get the first. Wait! I'm skipping something.
Huh?
They find the book in the haunted house. They run from the jocks and they go to the haunted
Well,
house.
they run from the jocks. They find Ramon, get into his car,
drive to
and then all together they end up. Hey, do you
they
want?
get in the haunted house.
Basically, that's Stella's come on to Ramon, like, hey, you want to see a haunted house?
Right, exactly.
And Ramon is like,
works.
I'm so fucking hard for you right now.
Yeah, exactly. So they go to the house, and this is probably where the movie like super lost me for like 5 or so minutes. I just couldn't pay attention. It was the dullest part, like, of the movie probably, where they're like found the book and they're like walking around, and the jocks found them or didn't find them. I was kind of confused of all what happened. It seemed like they were in the haunted house for far too long. But they found the book.
Well, a lot of different things happened.
Apparently a lot of things happened.
Flashbacks to the old family, but not the Cerebella's mom, but not her. And then there was Cerebella's was being kept in this little underground kind of cell, and then they get stuck there. But then it's the jocks who are putting them there, and then the sisters. It just keeps going with stuff that happens.
Yeah. It's all exposition, basically, and like I read in a good book once about writing. You're supposed to get through exposition like you're crossing over an iced over stream. You fucking run across that motherfucker because it drags.
Yes,
so,
please.
I mean, that's my move. But you need
either make it organic or
the opposite of the Stieg Larsson school,
where it's 100% exposition.
Yeah.
I've read books like that. We're just 300 pages of exposition, and then like
for example,
and a half-page description of a final finale, and then that's it. And then more exposition. But besides,
I mean, don't you love like hours and hours and hours of foreplay, and then just jumps on it, and you just fucking oh God!
I can't place myself in Middle Earth if I don't hear about the ancient religious customs of elves hundreds of years ago, and the intricacies of their language, and
that's the most interesting part.
That's the best foreplay I know of.
Yeah, what else is there? So they find the book, they escape, and Stella brings it home with her, with Ramon.
And it's written in children's blood.
And it's written in, how do you know the difference between a child's blood and just regular blood, Zach?
Because they say it's written in child's blood.
Okay. I was just wondering if there was a different tint or something, and you had experience.
It tastes sweeter.
Well, I do know that writing in blood comes out of
Lucky
brown.
Charms.
This was, of course, bright red. So, yeah,
okay.
Probably not blood.
And that's when we get the first short story out of that, which is Harold.
Yes.
Yes, and Harold is taken directly from the book. It's still different in the book. In the book, it's these kids pick on this other kid named Harold, and they kind of bummed out they don't get to pick on him all the time, so they make a scarecrow and name him Harold, and then pick on him that way.
Okay.
And then one day they think they hear the Harold speaking. They kind of like, oh no, this is crazy. And then one of the kids ends up being killed or skinned or becomes the scarecrow. It's very vague.
Well, that's what happens in
but then that's
movie spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is
really the Harold story was one of the best ones of the ones they got into. So I guess we'll kind of start off right now with why the stories work in the book versus what they did in the movie. Harold at the beginning, you see the jocks beating up on this scarecrow, like, oh, I hate you, Harold, everything. So, okay, so clearly it's set up. They don't like this scarecrow. You see beetles crawling out of the scarecrow. You think, okay, something is going to happen with this scarecrow. So, something's going to happen pretty soon. So at this point, it's been set up. Then eventually he turns into the scarecrow. This is a complete arc. This makes sense why this happens. Whereas all these later stories, are just seemingly ripped from the book with no kind of setup at all. They're just, the ending of the stories from the book kind of pigeonholed into here and really don't add anything to it. Like why is the guy saying me tie Dodie Walker? Or why is, the question is, why is any of this, why does it matter that the woman's toe is in the stew? It doesn't, there's no setup to any of this. It just kind of continues on putting in little pieces of the different stories. Whereas the Harold one is complete. The Harold one makes some amount of sense, even if it isn't completely, thought out as it is in the book.
It's really subtle, I think. And it's not really well fleshed out, and it's easy to miss. I caught this by chance with the whole stew thing. They have a little scene where the three kids are in the back of the auditorium or whatever, and the kind of chubby Jewish kid, he's eating a bologna sandwich or something, and Pierrot the Virgin is like, dude, there's 7 different organs in that meat. So that's the line that sets up oh, you're about to fucking hypocrite.
That's very subtle. Yeah, that's very subtle. In the book story version of that, it's way creepier. And just a flashback, go down memory lane for a moment. In the book, the kid finds a toe growing out of the garden, and he picks the toe, and then the parents cut it into 3 pieces, and then they each eat a piece.
What the fuck?
I remember thinking as a kid, who does that? Why is that normal behavior? What hellscape world is this from, where people find a toe grow out of a garden, and they're just like, oh, neat, we're going to eat this together as a family. And then the guy who owns the toe, obviously,
if you waste any of it,
comes.
It dishonors the corpse.
Exactly. So he came out very angry about that, and then he kills the family and gets his toe back. So in this one, it is definitely lost the creepiness factor in that respect.
Yeah, because whose toe is it? Whose organ meats are in this kid's fridge?
He's like, you ate my toe, but it's like, he didn't know. There's just random stew sitting in the fridge. Who cares?
He didn't pick it.
So somebody made it.
So it kind of missed the point, right? And it kind of missed the point of the story, if the story had a point at all.
That was always, it was the book was writing the stories, but even with that, they jumped to the end of the stories in the book that was being written. So those weren't even complete stories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a few frames of film probably add up to a good amount on page. So, I don't know. Maybe it was more of a slow burn. While she's ghostwriting this whole fucking thing. She's getting way more down on the page while the scenes are just flying by.
Well, what do you guys feel about the device of the stories being written on the book? As a ticking time bomb sort of situation where they have so much time before. Is it made clear? Is it when the story's finished, that's when the person's killed off, or the monster's finally revealed fully?
Well, are they dead? Because the one kid, he went under the bed into the wall. Is he dead? Is he going to come back? Is he in the upside down place? Is he in hell?
He's probably in some weird upside down
totally
thing.
In the upside down.
We're not even close to that yet. So that's at the end of the movie.
And it opens the door for a sequel, obviously. We'll get to the ending, but the kid's sister is still around towards the end. Clearly there's going to be some kind of arc where they figure out some kind of way to bring back these kids, maybe. That's definitely going to be a thing. 'Cause I like the idea that this is definitely a very dark story for, who's the audience for this? I would say this is for 7 to 12-year-olds. My first serious scary experience, not a child's scary experience. In the books, that's how it felt, though a lot of teachers disagree. I think Zach disagrees, but I think this is definitely better suited for the first somewhat serious horror.
In a way, I do agree, though, because this seemed like, not a Disney Channel original, but it seemed like in the 90s, Nickelodeon would put out a lot of these, R.L. Stine adaptations, movies. There was a show called Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I actually
just really reminded me.
I poured into that a little bit. I was looking up old episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because that was my version of scary stories to tell in the dark. It actually kind of spooked me. And my God, the most frightening thing about those episodes now is the fashion. Jesus Christ! That real rough transition from late 80s into early 90s normcore.
Yeah, those were rough days for
Going
everybody
from Will
involved.
Smith to the Gap.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, it's a rough turn. You get whiplash from it. It's horrible, especially with the length of the hair on these boys. Get a fucking
These were
haircut.
definitely scarier. These were scarier than Goosebumps or the other scary story stuff.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's from what was this PG-13 or R? I forget.
PG-13.
Okay, so it seemed like they wanted to go as close to R as they possibly could while
Possibly
holding
could.
back, but
Yeah.
still maintain kind of the tone of this is for kids. This could play on Nickelodeon Disco Kids. They never really nailed down who the core audience was for this, and that was
No.
some of the issue I had with it, because I was sitting there watching this. I'm like, okay, people who grew up reading this in the 80s and 90s are now in their 30s or 40s, something like that.
You watch that with
But-
your kids. People that grew up with this, you watch it with your kids. Is like, I read these books when I was your
Yeah.
age, and this is the movie that's based off of it. Let's have this experience together.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way I can see it, is if this is a joint audience thing. And in some ways, that's smart because you get to take it from two demographics.
Yeah.
But like, it's definitely a novel. It's something cool, meant to be cool for the fans who grew up with it, and then it's a way to introduce it to a new generation. But the books are still there, so they can always still read the books.
I mean, really, that's all of these movies now.
Yeah.
It used to be superhero movies. These are children who read superhero comics. These are for kids. Star Wars is for kids. Now it's oh, you're a middle-aged man. You don't have any kids. You have plenty of spending money, or if you do have kids, you're going to be there along with them. So you really need to kind of give something for everyone, and a lot of the time that just ends up being nothing in the end.
You're right. It ends up being kind of like empty, a lot of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the problem with the film. It didn't really it didn't hit the eeriness or the creepiness or the grossness that like the books have, especially with the pictures that come with the book, which really adds a whole lot of tone
I don't know.
that you wouldn't
I mean,
have.
they made a good choice with bringing Guillermo del Toro in on this, because
of the monster.
yeah, his monsters are usually pretty fucking terrible. Like the creepy decapitated corpse or whatever that animates at will.
Jangly Man?
Yeah, that was pretty fucking spooky. Pretty
Yeah.
scary looking. It's CGI.
That was all practical. Except no, that's practical. The guy walked like
Yeah.
that. They put on they looked crazy, dude. They do a little touch up with CGI.
Whoa.
But obviously when it's in pieces, but most of it isn't a guy in a suit.
Whoa, that's fucking awesome.
So,
Love Guillermo del
a
Toro.
lot of these effects are practical, dude. Like, he's
Del
amazing.
Toro has that one guy he uses in all his movies who's just
He's in
really
this, too.
skinny, who played
Yeah.
the fish man, and the guy with the eyeballs in his hands from
Yeah,
Pan's
right.
Labyrinth.
And the Scarecrow is pretty fucking creepy.
They all looked great. The special
Yeah,
effects were
it
fantastic.
just looks like a leather face mask.
Yeah.
yeah.
But still,
Which
it worked.
looked real, at least. It had texture, it had depth.
Yeah.
It didn't look like some CGI
But even
monstrosity.
when Del Toro does use CG, if you look into some of the special effects on something like Crimson Peak, there's a little bit of CG, but a lot of that is very complex, masks and set pieces they built to kind of seamlessly mesh with the CG, and it really ends up looking, a lot more kind of visceral and in your face than something that you would get out of just doing straight CG.
Something that comes right out
It
of
does
your
have that kind of
ass.
70s, 80s throwback style to it, where it's, it's entirely latex and practical effects. It harkens back to a lot of that stuff. Del Toro, he did write the story. He's been wanting to get this made for a while, but the real kind of work in this movie came from Andre Ovredal, who also directed a movie called Troll Hunter. I don't know if anyone's seen that. That's a great movie.
Seen parts of it.
Ooh, you might have to bring that to the table. I've never seen it.
Yeah, that one is it's a Norwegian language film. He's a Norwegian about
It's like a found footage type of film, right?
yeah, kind of
So
a
they
found footage
follow.
thing about this film crew who goes hangs out with this crazy old mountain man hunter who claims he's found trolls, and they all think it's fake, and they go out and they actually do see trolls, and they get some footage of the trolls and check with the trolls, and so it's a good one. It did pretty well when it first came out. Little independent film that ended up being pretty popular for its time. So now he's doing this. I believe now he's also working on a sequel to scary stories to tell in the dark.
So is that something? I couldn't find any information. I didn't really look for that long either. So they are going to make a sequel, apparently.
Yeah, apparently it's. I mean, with everything going on now, who knows? But apparently it's in pre-production. And
there's 3 books, and all of these stories, I believe, all come from the first book. The second and third book were popular, but nowhere as popular as the first one was. Like, it just wasn't. Like, there couldn't really compare.
Never, the sequels, they're never as good as the originals.
Exactly.
Unless it's Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, that's one of those rare situations.
Or actually,
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that we're doing this. Last Crusade, actually. That's my favorite fucking Indiana Jones film.
That's my favorite one too, honestly.
Because it has
feels like the most
Sean
polished.
in it.
Exactly. Zardoz himself.
Really
Not
Zardoz. Then you grow up, you realize Temple of Doom is terrible, but as a kid, like, I love the scene where they're they're eating the worms and all this stuff, and it just freaks them out.
Yeah, that's a good. They were definitely trying to get a younger audience for that one.
Yeah, that one's a little more off. Yeah, but yeah, dude, Last Crusade I think is still probably better than Raiders.
That's even rare. Where the third film is better than the others, but I guess some people say Return of the King is better than the other 2.
Fellowship
which is debatable.
The fucking best. I don't give a shit what anybody fucking
which one
says.
won all the Oscars? Which won all the Oscars? Return of the King. Take it up with them. They do no wrong.
Oh yeah, I remember Godfather 3, definitely the finest of that trilogy, huh, Josh?
Yeah, Godfather 3, the best one by far.
Hangover 3.
Hangover 3.
Genius. And I mean, obviously, we've talked about this, but Scary Movie 5 is clearly the best one.
The best one. We should do that. I hope one of us picks it.
It actually makes you ejaculate with fear. I've never had that experience, and I want it.
While laughing. Yeah.
Wait, you ejaculate without fear?
The fear comes afterward. Oh, shit. When I'm thinking, how do I fucking get out of here?
Yeah, so they were kind of setting up a sequel at the end. I don't really think the ending, the ending felt kind of forced. They were going on. They were putting in all these different things for different stories, and then I think
let's not jump too far ahead.
We gotta wrap this up, and they didn't know.
Yeah, let's not jump too far ahead. We still have the whole second act to get through.
All right.
So the girl, we get to the second story, which is the girl with the red dot on her face in the school, right? Yeah. And that's when that's when you have that trope where no one believes what you're telling them. So it's like she tries to explain. There's the book, and it's writing these stories, and people are dying. You're crazy, woman.
No, it was the Mexican kid.
Yeah, exactly. It's obviously yeah.
I'm surprised that sheriff didn't have a lynch mob within the first 20 minutes of the film.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, he wasn't fat enough, and he didn't have a southern accent despite this taking place in Pennsylvania.
Sideburns were nowhere near big enough.
Shouldn't you be moving along there,
Belt
boy? And
buckle
like, why don't you
nowhere
stay in town
near
a few days? It's like, no, you're supposed to tell him to get out of town. Don't tell him to stay in town.
Right, it doesn't make
Don't let
sense.
sun fall on you back here, boy.
What is this, Lovecraft Country? I don't know if you've seen that show yet.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we'll get to that another day. So,
no, we won't. We're not. We're not talking about that.
No.
I can't afford HBO.
So what happens after that, Tristan?
Well, I mean, just before we move on to the next story, there's one sentence that sets up the spider story, and it's like when she comes into the haunted house, like she gets a bunch of spider webs in her hair, and she's like, "Oh my god, get the spiders out of my hair!" And that's like the one moment that's supposed to set up like her being freaked out about spiders so much that she fucking goes to the nut house after having this experience of spiders being birthed from her face.
I mean, understandable.
Yeah, it's pretty traumatic.
Well, I'm glad now that you're bringing this up, I am seeing that, they did foreshadow a good amount of the stuff, which was a little bit better than it being completely
But
random.
it's so easy to miss.
Yeah, it's so easy to miss. Like, I missed,
I didn't miss catching it.
It's not fleshed out really well. Like, so before we go forward, like, as I'm watching this for the first time, I'm like, okay, so it's a Death Note, right? Yeah. Cerebellus is just a fucking Death Note. Okay. So like, whoever gets written about fucking dies. Great. Turns out it's actually like Death Note meets Final Destination.
Yeah.
So like all these kids, they know they're gonna die because they fucked with the spirit or whatever.
Whatever they did.
But the real kicker, like for me, it was like when I saw it was not just a mash of Death Note and Final Destination, was that it's supposed to be that the stories like reflect the deepest fears of the characters who in them who die. So like one sentence isn't much of a setup, but it's enough to hint at like, oh, maybe this person has a history of like arachnophobia or like being paranoid about how many organ meats are in a slice of bologna. Shit like that.
You could be belligerent about it, right? Where you could have these like obvious scenes where the person's like, I'm scared of spiders. Gee whiz, I sure hope none find me today. You know, like, and then like you won't miss it, but you'll be like, this is out of place and weird. But I guess they tried to make it organic, so I guess
so yeah, the
tip of the fedora for that.
And bringing it to the third story, like, you know, where what's his face, the Jewish kid, he gets cornered in a red room. Let's name the story, by this weird amorphous, like, you know, fucking dough woman with lanky black hair and like fucking terrifying. Like, you know, again, Guillermo del Toro.
Did you like that design?
I loved it, but I didn't get like, how is this connected with him? Like, when did he mention that this was his deepest fear? Like, how did I didn't get
I know
that.
I'm terrified to fall inside the void in some weird white woman's chest.
Yeah, to be taken back into the womb.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he had something about his mom he mentioned earlier. Like,
Maybe, did anybody catch that? I don't know.
She was a classic Jewish mother.
Yeah, the classic smothering Jewish. You go, I just wish I could put you back.
Oh, Howard. Oh, Howard.
That could have been it. Now that I think about it, like.
Why don't you climb back in your mother's vagina so I don't have to worry about you all the time?
I mean, yeah, it was like literally if a manatee turned into a person.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really get that either. Like, I was like, why is this person here and why is this happening? And
because the one after that represents his shame of being, you know, a coward and dodging the draft.
Yeah, see, that made perfect sense. Like, that was the one that was most fleshed out. They had the most amount of time to have that.
And the most creative of the monsters.
They did kind of lay it on a little heavy with the Nixon stuff. At first, it was like, okay, cool, but then, you know, the old voodoo woman's daughter comes in and she goes, "Tricky Dicky, what kind of name is that for a president?" Oh, and then she turns the TV off and walks away, and I'm like, okay.
Oh my god.
Coming on a little heavy with this now. I was like, is this supposed to be a Trump thing? Like, what? Why are you going so heavy?
Hey man, like, I was just writing the script, man, and like, I fucking hate Nixon, alright?
Did this movie need social commentary and politics?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And I definitely didn't help the story, and that was definitely there for the benefit of the
So shame on Guillermo del Toro there.
Yeah, on that one, yeah. You didn't need that for some kid stories. You don't need a Nixon subplot. I mean,
it's a scary time.
It's real weird.
Yeah, if there's one thing the kids watching this can relate to, it's a Richard Nixon subplot.
Yeah, exactly.
Richard Nixon subplot, man. Nothing is more terrifying.
It would have been great if he had been the Mitai Dodie Walker guy. If it had been his, like, Mitai Dodie Walker, bro!
Oh, shit. He fucking bites George Wallace's head clean off.
Clean off.
Clean.
It had some T-2000 or 1000. What's the name of the Terminator in part 2?
Oh, yeah. T-2000.
Oh, yeah.
T2, yeah,
T3,
yeah.
T3.
Kind of Jangly Man reminded me of him a little bit. Like his persistence and his ability to reform himself.
Yeah, just fucking keeps coming.
Just keeps coming, which is a cool, like, you know, like, that's a fun, like, villain.
Yeah.
Is the one that can't just be stopped, and he reassembles himself.
And then when he was crushed between the bus, I was like, okay, so is he gonna like dematerialize? Like, are the townspeople gonna find him there the next day and they'll be like, oh shit, it was real, or is it just, you know?
This isn't Monster Squad. No, there we go. I don't know if you remember that.
Dude, I do. We should fucking do that one.
That's a great one, dude. That's a good one. Maybe that was the one. Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up, because maybe that was on my list, but it doesn't matter.
That's all right. We got 6 weeks.
Yeah, the city and the experience of the city and people who aren't the main characters never really comes to play. Like, there's not like a whole lot of witnesses. There's not like the school
like,
sees what's happening.
It's the 60s. Everybody's fucking high.
Yeah,
Stella's dad, who you think through the whole thing is going to
watching the football
be
game.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's just falling asleep and just deadbeat dad working my job, and my wife left me, and
Yeah, that
we're not
trope
going
of
to
the
go into that
parents
either.
or the neighbors or anything like that was not really involved, which is fine. You don't really need that. But it was like
Yeah,
kind of
well,
strange. It
they
felt like a small
show
cast.
the one kid's mom and his grandma at the beginning, and there's like a throwaway line about the grandma being religious. They don't do anything, but she's like, "Oh, be happy that God provided this at least," or something like that.
All you need to
They go
know
nowhere with
is
that
that
either.
Stella blames herself and is psychically traumatized by her mother leaving.
Yeah.
You laugh
Also,
at that.
Ramon keeps coming into her room while her
'Cause I
dad
feel
is
the
there.
same
They're just
thing.
hanging out in the room, and you think something's gonna happen, and it never does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you get the red room. Fatso gets eaten. You get the what did you call the man? The
The jangly man?
jangly man.
Yeah, the jangly man.
The
Apparently that's what
Mitai
he's
Dodie
called.
Walker guy.
Is that what you call him? Where do you get that name from?
Because he keeps saying Mitai Dodie Walker. It's all he
Oh,
says.
gotcha.
No way. You keep saying Ramon.
No, he kept telling me to kill myself. Are we all hearing something different?
Now
Well,
that's
there was
fucking
definitely, like-
scary.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
That would be amazing. Every version had its own audio.
Bum, bum.
Just a
I
freak
thought
with
I'd
the
never
audio.
heard of any of
Or
this,
we're
and then I
losing
heard
our
Mitai
fucking
Dodie Walker,
shit.
and I realized, oh shit, I've heard this from when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, I had not the book itself, but like a cassette tape of like an audio recording. I was looking this up. They did make audio recordings of all these books. Actually, the guy who played Heat Miser in A Year Without a Santa Claus, of all things.
What?
But from there, I remember Mitai Dodie Walker, the Hook story you're talking about. High Beams was one of the stories I remember. There was one from another book called The Green Ribbon, where he marries this girl named Jenny who always wears a green ribbon, and then on the wedding night he takes the green ribbon off and her head falls off.
Dude, I remember.
Just things like that. So I definitely do remember a good amount of this as a kid, because when you grow up hearing a phrase called like Mitai Dodie Walker, you don't really forget that, and then that came out of nowhere. The movie was like, oh, okay, that's what this is an adaptation of.
It's so weird. Like, as you guys talk about these stories more, like, I have these memories. Like, I received it, like, orally. you know what I mean. But yeah, no, like, I remember going to the beach one time, and, like, this one dude just, like, told us, like, a few, like, really scary stories, and I was like, this is the coolest fucking shit ever. How do you just know these stories? Like, and it was the spider story. Like, I thought that was fucking amazing. Like, that...
The red dot?
Yeah, the red dot. And, like, I remember at a campfire one time, somebody told the green ribbon story. So this is, like, really trippy how I'm seeing this come back to me now. So it's in the culture. You know it's inundated.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely been passed along, but mostly, like, orally, as you said, probably now for a lot of people.
Yeah, these aren't completely original stories. Alvin Schwartz, the guy who wrote all the books, did a lot of research, and these are all based on old urban legends and myths from through American history and things like that. He just kind of took them and put his own spin on them and put them together.
What you call your folklore.
Yeah, exactly.
Your Brothers Grimm.
Yeah.
But for America.
So it's better.
It's better.
So yeah,
We're
so we got the jangly man, and I think I'm still tripping on the fact that we all heard something different.
Right.
No,
design.
the first thing he said was definitely Mitai Dodie Walker, because I remember the sheriff was looking at one of the stories being written, and that was called Mitai Dodie Walker. I was like, wait a minute, what is that? And then the first thing
Is that
Jangly
even
Man
words?
says is Mitai. That's the thing. It's so you never if you grow up and you hear that story, you forget about it, but the minute you hear it, you're like, wait a minute, like that's such a random phrase. No one's going to accidentally say Mitai Dodie Walker. So the minute you hear it, you're like, oh, that's what this is from. That's right. And I remember I've been hearing the recording as a kid.
Okay.
It all came back right away. It was like, oh, that was that tape.
So it's not
the Hook story and the High Beam story and everything.
So it's nonsense, right? It's not like actual words in a phrase. It's like a nonsense phrase.
A voice would say Mitai Dodie Walker, and in return, in the book, a guy's dog would say Grinchy Crunchy Clawly Molly Dingo Dingo.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go, like, it's not like a caveman saying I tied this woman named Dodie Walker one time, like,
Right.
Yeah.
or like a Thai hooker saying, "My name is Dodie Walker." I'm getting you guys today, man.
Right.
But yeah, so you get the Jangly Man, and that's like in the midst of this chase, they figure out like, or Ramon puts together like, take the book to the house. If you stop her, you stop this. And
Which they found out that the book is being written by a woman who was framed for something.
Right.
Yeah, it was,
Right.
so there was Sarah Bellows, who is the previous inhabitant of the haunted house, but no one has ever seen Sarah Bellows because she was crazy or deformed or something. She was being kept in the basement by the family, and then
turns out she's just an albino.
Yeah. What a freak.
Yeah, fuck. I would have locked her in my fucking
I was like, wait a minute, that was the
Right.
1800s.
I got
was
3
it?
in mine
like,
right now.
Like being an albino, it's like that's like being tan now. That means she would fetch a very high
Whoa.
price.
Right,
Oof.
exactly. It's not like a raven. You know what ravens do if you're white? They kill you.
What?
True.
Never more.
Yeah, and crows, yeah.
Yeah, little known fact, ravens super racist against albinos.
Super racist. Yeah, exactly. Who would have figured?
And like that's why I think like Sarah Bellows decides to kill like Stella last, cause you know she's a ginger. They got kind of the white on white skin going. Like
Right,
you,
right.
you know my pain.
Yeah.
To be shunned from the sunlight.
She tried really hard to kill that Mexican kid.
Oh,
That
she
Jangly
tried like
Man
hell.
Put the most effort into any of this. Yeah.
We're really hard to kill.
Yeah. You're telling me. So anyway,
So yeah, that's the thing, and yeah, eventually she gets into the basement, and Sarah Bellows shows up, and there's this whole...
tell her the truth. Tell her the truth. Who the mom has she has a vision of her mom, and she says, "Tell the truth, write the truth." And then she has that speech with the spirit of the girl.
Yeah, she's like, "Look, I realized that it wasn't fair, and
You
I
were
get
framed.
picked on too." It's like you're a girl at school who doesn't like fit in. Like this,
Yeah.
these stories aren't really comparable, but but yeah, she did bring up this point where she's like, "Yeah, I mean, I know your life was like messed up, but you just like hurt all these innocent people, and that was like messed up." And it was like, yeah, it doesn't. It almost seemed like the writer, I don't know, trying to figure out why his own movie didn't make any sense. Because I was asking, like, okay, the
Classic
Sarah
Guillermo del
Bellows girl,
Toro.
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
it's like,
I'm
screwed
so
over, and she
fucking
took
pissed
his
why it
book.
doesn't make sense. It's
It's so beautiful though.
so beautiful.
Yeah, that well, her whole thing was like, oh, I'll tell the people your story. I'll tell them you were wrong. It was like, this is the bitch who just killed all your friends and messed a lot of
Yeah.
stuff up. Like,
Right.
what are you doing?
She'll
Like,
get over
Which I
it.
like that.
She'll get over it.
I like that after it's solved, or at least quote unquote solved, like the kids just don't miraculously come out of the shadows or something. Like, oh, you saved
Yeah,
us.
there's no
you know?
no Deus Ex
it's like,
Machina there.
no Deus Ex Machina. Those kids are gone. Like, as far as you know, they're dead. Like, that's good. The characters, they needed the dead characters to stay true to the spirit of the book.
But then Stella writes a story about it for the paper that everyone thinks is great and award-winning. It's like, you mean the story where you say that Sarah Bellows was real and her ghost killed a bunch of kids and all this other stuff, and people just
And how I'm totally
with
not
it.
implicated in these murders
Yeah,
of my
I know.
friends.
and
No
their
5150.
first thought is not, hey, let's send her to the asylum with the Spider Girl.
Yeah.
Right?
Some people believe me, some didn't.
Yeah.
But it
That
didn't
doesn't
matter.
sound like
I'm gonna go
Nixon's
figure
America
this
to me.
out. Right.
Yeah, speaking of Nixon's America, at the end of it, Ramon just goes off to
Yeah,
Vietnam.
no, casual.
Yeah, I mean, he has a duty. So, like, it goes from an anti-war movie to, yeah, I guess you got to do it.
Guess if you gotta die in a rice patty, you gotta die in a rice patty.
Rice patty. I mean, I ain't no coward. I don't know what you're saying. You know? So that's a little shift.
Well, yeah. So, like, this is, I mean, you know, we kind of we kind of glided over the moral here, but there's, you know, like,
There's a moral?
okay, yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, like,
Don't frame your sister and put her in a mental asylum and torture her.
This story as old as time.
fuck yeah.
So the brother was the really evil one who did the murders.
Yeah.
Ooh, it was all hallucinating.
Well, the whole family, the whole Bellows family is implicated in this plot of poisoning the water supply of this town for some reason. Maybe I don't know. That was not clear to me either.
There was so much stuff that was just they kind of started it and then
They had a cult.
went nowhere with it.
It was like Wild Country. They had that cult, and they had to poison the water supply to stop people from voting. This is obvious.
Yeah, and that totally comes 360
That comes
degrees
through
with Nixon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because of
Yeah,
these fucking
100%.
people.
Yeah, exactly.
We get Nixon.
No, sorry. So Tristan, you said there's a moral behind the story. I want to hear your theory.
Okay, so like, this is the archetypal, like, descent into the underworld in a basement, right? Pretty on the nose. Stella is facing the dark goddess, the dark feminine, Sarah Bellows. Sarah Bellows herself is a symbol of the chthonic, what you call your underworld mother, literally bellows below, right? Or she's like a Pandora figure unleashing the evils of the world from this box or the book, to go out and reap vengeance on these kids for what's been done to her. Stella, which means star, right? She shines brightest in the darkness. It's her opportunity. She's the only one destined to meet this fate. And they're both writers, like in the truest sense, who have gone through their own particular traumas. So the moral here, like, of Stella's character arc meeting the underworld darkness is her own darkness that she's meeting. So the moral for me here is the artist here as writer must be equal to the task of what needs telling, right? So it's like, not only does Stella need to be able to face her own darkness and tell her own story instead of just sublimating it into a bunch of little stories, she needs to be able to face the ultimate darkness of this, like, terrifying ghost figure, Sarah Bellows, in order to understand her and then to tell her story, right? So she becomes the master storyteller by facing that darkness, not just her own, but of, Sarah Bellows.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what, 50 grand will get you.
And we have like 17 subscribers. All right.
Fuck yeah.
We're getting
That's
there.
That's a fucking huge bill.
Oh my god. Yeah, you all each will be receiving a bill for Tristan's grad school costs.
Please and thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
For
Don't forget to
supporting
give her a Patreon.
young podcasts.
Right.
No, cash. No, Patreon has.
Yeah.
Patreon's not getting a cut of this.
No. Here's his address. I'll post it in the
Sweet.
link. Don't worry.
OnlyFans gives better percentages. So.
Add me on MySpace.
What year is it?
That's the question of the movie, isn't it? What year is it?
Yeah, exactly. What year is that? Walkie-talkie.
Right. So
In the 60s.
so you want to bring it home with the ending here?
Well, Zach, do that for me.
I mean, the end of the movie is, Sarah Bellows only goes away because Stella promises to tell the truth about what happened to the world, about how Sarah was, she was wronged by her family. She was the real victim. But this is after she tells Sarah, but also you're being a bitch because you killed all my friends. They had nothing to do with this. So then she publishes the story in the paper or something, and people like it and don't immediately. Apparently, they just take her at her word that this ghost killed 4 people.
Yeah.
And
now
drove another one crazy.
Yeah, and because of that, the sister, I guess, gets out of the asylum, and Stella isn't put in there for writing the story, which is a little weird. And
no lynch mob for Ramon. Like, what the fuck? This is not
Ramon goes out to
1968
Vietnam.
Nixon's America.
I believe. Let's see. He doesn't. they don't kiss. He just says, "I'll write you," right? Or do they? I don't.
Oh, that's so hot.
Very platonic.
That's so friggin' hot.
Yeah, it always seemed like they were like, gonna get together, but then they never did.
Well, because she's in
die in
fucking
Vietnam.
high school.
Yeah.
There's a
True.
there's a an issue of the age of consent here.
Not 60s. What are you
Plus,
talking
she's a
about?
white woman, so.
Yeah, true. It's probably
yeah.
worse.
Yeah. So it ends with her with the sister in the car, and the dad, played by Dean Norris, is now driving them somewhere so they can
Then we get some narration.
begin the process of finding the friends who may or may not be alive. It's not really clear what they're gonna do or what happened, but they're gonna.
I thought she was going to look for her mom.
That's what she maybe wanted to do, but I don't think that's what the dad was up to, right? I think it did, but I think Tristan, they're kind of right.
Why was the sister there though?
Because she's, I got nothing better to do.
Yeah, why was she there? If it was just the dad and her, that would make sense. But the sister was there too.
I just didn't want to hang out in a mental asylum anymore.
Yeah, right.
No one.
I'm kind of over it now.
And I guess she's got outcast status now.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, Stella drives away with her father on a recovered Ruth and states that she will find a way to rescue Chuck and Augie.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I guess they're going somewhere to look for them.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
But who was driving the dad? He's not part of this, though.
He is
wasn't-
now.
Because
he
must have read
he
the
never
story.
explained.
He must have read the story at some point.
Well, I guess if he believes it, but it's never implied or not even. It's never
Much like
suggested.
everyone else, he doesn't have a complete arc. Nobody, really, nobody besides maybe Stella and partially Sarah Bellows have a complete arc that's coherent.
Yeah.
Well, how would you guys have told the story?
I would have done a few. Okay, well, here's what I would do. I would do an anthology series, where each one was a different episode, and we do a complete story from the book as an episode, kind of a Twilight Zone.
So not movies,
something like that.
So a TV show. You would have said no to the movie and done a TV show.
If I'd done a movie, it would have been separate story. Like I kept thinking about 30, 40 minutes, and I was like, okay, are they going to cut now and go do the next one? And then I realized, oh no, they're just doing one long story where they're kind of shoehorning the parts of the stories in there, because it's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is short stories that are each completely self-contained, bit of a beginning, middle, and end. And that was my biggest issue with this, is that it, there was no setup for most of these, so they didn't really make sense in the context they were placed in. So I would have done, a few different stories, or I don't know. I would have just found a different way to do this, though. I mean, I would have been the right guy, because I don't like horror movies. Really.
What?
But I mean, this, it just, yeah, They were trying to do. I couldn't tell when one of the stories ended and the other began, and I didn't see how any of them fit together. Why was Sarah Bellows right? There's just so many unanswered questions, and the stories themselves were there just as a device to scare you instead of something to just think about and to actually make sense of in the end. And it just didn't work for me on that level.
Tristan,
How would you have done it?
How would you have done it?
See, what I would have done was, I would have kept killing every single person in this whole fucking town with this book. Like, you think it's gonna turn out all right? Nah, Stella dies before Ramon does. Okay, because it's gonna be just like Night of the Living Dead.
Ramon's the only one who lives.
Yeah, No. It's going to be exactly like Night of the Living Dead. At some point, him and Stella do the forbidden bow chicka wow. We got nothing else. Everybody's going to die anyway. We might as well do this. And that's their downfall, right? So the book turns the whole town into zombies. And they come up to him in the car on, make out, hooker point.
You're gonna bring it full circle.
And they pull. they cave in the roof of the car and they pull her out by her red hair, screaming, decapitates her. The bottom half of her guts just spill into his fucking passenger seat.
Because she's a race mixer.
And yeah, exactly. And he and he fucking throws that Chevy into reverse real quick, skirts the fuck out of there, and starts like barreling into the night, right? Looking in his rear view, fucking trying to clean out the seat, like not vomiting onto his jeans because of the smell of her feces and guts all over the place. And that's when he hits one of the fucking zombies, and they just fucking swarm him. And roll credits. Roll credits. Yeah, and then that's all you hear is fucking Nixon's "I'm not a crook" speech. and fucking napalm falling on Vietnam, like in a slow fade.
No. He wakes up and he realizes it was all a dream, but then he wakes up and he realizes he's on a bus and he's going to Vietnam.
Yes! Oh, that's perfect. There we go. See? I'll give you co-credit on that one.
Oh,
there you go.
When Guillermo del Toro comes knocking on my door for the rights to that story.
Right.
How about you, Josh? Will you do it any other way?
Well, not as grandiose as that. Like, I'm torn between like a serious answer and a joke answer. Like a serious answer would be like, I understand why they did what they did. You have to make this into a movie. You can't do an anthology. Just it wouldn't work like that. They tried that with other movies, especially in the 80s, and those are
Twilight's on the movie.
Yeah, but like that's like as good as it gets, and there's way worse than that. And even that, like the stories were like so short. We're talking like some of them are like a page, you know. So like these are not long stories. I would have done some things differently for sure.
All right, like what?
But
like what? Like, give me one thing.
I would have
killed everybody. Just everybody should have died.
Well, most of them did die. So
but that's not good enough.
Right?
Maybe not shoehorn this whole kind of political, racial message, like, because they're like, oh, Night of the Living Dead, that was about how racism is bad, and we're going to throw back to that, and ooh, Nixon and war and resistance.
Yeah, all the social commentary could have been removed right away and replaced with like atmosphere. You know, like I would have taken like more interesting atmosphere.
Well, like, maybe I mean, you know, maybe you don't have to get rid of it completely. I mean, maybe you could have made it into like a romantic Nixon subplot,
right?
Where it's like he's got a little office crush in the White House, and he's like trying to, you know, not get caught by his wife, and
he's sleeping with Stella's mom. Is what's happening. That's where Stella's mom went. And then it turns out she works for the White House.
So I can count on your vote, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Splendid.
Right.
Good.
Yeah. There's all this is actually related to the Republican Convention of 1968. It's all coming together.
Little do they know, all Nixon wants to do is 69. My nose is just, it fits right in the spot.
Oh God.
You don't cardi yourself, swipe your nose like a credit card.
I've only got my Diners Club on me. His credit cards weren't exactly a thing yet, I don't think.
That's a reference right there. All right.
Yeah. Any of those who know the history of credit card companies in this country, whoa, watch out on the next episode.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to stick with I don't know what they could have done better. Maybe to not make it into a movie at all.
To have a not like force a sequel to be set up.
Yeah, you have three books.
You can have one, but they left it open ended. Like, oh, now you have to. It's like you just shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah,
and they will
wrap this movie up.
$25 million budget, $100 million gross.
Oh, there you go.
I'm sure that'll. It definitely. If you make quadruple your money.
No. No, I'm not saying you can't have a sequel. I'm saying, but all these other horror movies, it still has, you know, the possibility of ending at one because it's a complete story. Whereas this one, it's just, I don't know, somehow we're gonna figure it out. And
we're
driving away now.
It's like they're not even attempting to make this a solid standalone piece. It's meant to be that way. The marketing is already in place. The lawyers say we got to do this.
How about final thoughts?
I didn't really care for it. I thought it was boring. Like halfway through, I was like, "Oh my god, there's still like another hour in this movie." And, the tone was really disjointed. It was trying to be an R-rated slasher film, but for kids, and it didn't know who its audience was. It didn't know what tone it wanted to have. That was kind of one of the biggest problems. Even not looking at the plot holes and things that they set up that they didn't follow through on, and I don't know. I feel like it could have been better done in a lot of ways. This was just they had this property, this classic property, and you say, hey, let's make a movie out of this, and it doesn't matter what it takes. We're making a movie out of it. Find a way to fit it in, and they did. So, and it made a lot of money. So I guess it worked.
Tristan,
Not enough zombies. Just not enough.
not enough Nixon 69.
Not enough Nixon 69ing. Not enough decapitation of Stella would have been pretty cool to see. Like if they had made it. Like I wasn't freaked out enough about Ramon. Like I got feeling for. I was just like, oh yeah, this dude's solid. He's pretty cool. He likes zombie movies. Solid guy. Drives a car. Lives in it. Amazing. Amazingly cool. Dodging the draft. Love it. Love this kid. I just wish like there was more at stake for him, or like, and that he didn't just get on the bus. Like that's.
Did he give her the car at the end? What happened to his cool car?
Oh yeah. Wait. Oh yeah. Because he crashed. Because
it's in the shop, right?
No, because he crashes it into. Oh no, that's the cop car. He's starting.
No, but then it's in the shop, and that's when the sheriff says, "Not hey boy, get out of town." He says, "Hey boy, stay in town."
Yeah,
which is a interesting inversion of that.
Yeah. Yeah, just a lot of shit did not really make sense. There was a lot of underdeveloped plot points, and if you can't fucking resolve them, just cut them. Just fucking get rid of it. Yeah.
That's a problem for the writer of the second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But for like just I'm not gonna just watch a scary movie. Doesn't need to be that intellectually tasking. Like it's a decent enough film. Like clearly it worked for the masses, and fucking enjoy that scratch. Mr. Del Toro, my hat's off to you for your creepy monster people.
I like how he comes off of winning Best Picture and then he does this.
It's like, oh fuck, now how am I gonna pay the rent?
Right? Well, you gotta, he just follows his passions, which is why.
It's like, bro, you got Best Picture for writing a movie about a guy who wants to fuck a fish. Like
a girl who wants to fuck a fish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My final thoughts on it is, I'm like, you have to try to make a movie like this, something as iconic as Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. The challenge was obvious, where you have an anthology of stories. How do you present that with a plot attached that makes sense? They did okay. It could have been way worse, way worse. Could have been Jack Black and Goosebumps.
Oof.
So like, it could have been a nightmare scenario.
Was that bad, by the way? Because I actually heard some good things.
Nostalgia goggles are a hell of a thing. So
I never had nostalgia for Goosebumps.
Yeah, so if you have nostalgia for it, maybe you'll be okay. Maybe like Jack Black, you might be like okay. If you're just an adult and you're just watching for the first time, you're gonna be like, I am in hell. But I think watching this, you don't get much exposure. Yeah. Like this definitely rides the line of adult and for kids, which is a hell of a challenge. And I think he had that in front of his mind. It's like, I want to make this as creepy as possible without going R, and they can still make it kid friendly. They swear. There's kind of implied death. It's not super gruesome, but it's somewhat gross, which is good. You want some body horror stuff. They could have done without social commentary. I don't need that in these scary stories. That's not what they're about. It's just about being creeped out and made to feel uncomfortable. All in all, it was not the worst thing we've seen on the show. Zardoz was the worst thing that we've seen on the show.
Reigning champion.
Yeah, reigning champion. Zardoz is a giant piece of shit. I'm sorry. I even gave it the more I think about it, the more upset I am. I even gave it the grade I did.
This was longer than Zardoz.
I felt like it was quicker. Like there was definitely parts of the movie where I blacked out. Like in the haunted house, I don't think I paid attention very much when I first went there.
Oh, exposition gone. Huh? There's a squirrel.
Gone, exactly. Yeah, squirrel. Exactly. I instantly lost interest, and I had like kind of
There's a
looked
piece
cool
of
at starting,
string at
looked
the edge
strong.
of my fucking seat here. I gotta fucking pull on this a little bit.
Has straight losers club like energy going on, you know, and that can work, and it's worked in lots of other.
Yeah, it was set in the 60s, but it of course was written in the 80s, so it just seemed like the classic, you know, Goonies, Stranger Things, all of that.
All that stuff. That's where I get the losers club is the it reference.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. No, that is canon.
Yeah.
Speaking of a movie where all the guys like a girl, if you're aware of that one scene from the book that was not in the movies.
What?
Apparently in the book.
Which book? It?
The book It, yeah.
The underage gangbang?
Yeah. The guys gangbang the girl in the sewers.
Oh shit! I gotta read this.
Yeah, right. Cocaine-fueled underage sex descriptions from Stephen King.
Yep,
Yeah.
that sounds like the king.
Why didn't they add that to the film versions? I wonder.
Because Tim Curry kept on creeping on them. They're like, I just can't get it up, man.
Children.
He just keeps.
What
do you mean you can't get it up?
I know exactly. I need to work on my impressions for that shit.
Well, you have a whole nother week.
I know. Our balls float down here. Okay. That's
balls float down here. Oh shit.
Well, we did our final thoughts, so you guys want to rate it?
Yeah, so are we gonna pick a rating scale or just stick to our format, or we could always do the Russian farmer rating scale.
A Russian farmer. I'd give this movie 4 corpses out of 7. You do the math, nerd.
Really tricked out for a farmer. He looks like a fucking royalty or something.
I'm gonna give the movie a 6.5 out of 10. That's not a grade. That's a different thing. 6.5 out of 10.
How about you?
I'll give it a 5 out of 10. It could have been a lot worse, but I thought it was completely forgettable, and
Totally
I
understand.
enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
I would not give the ear off my goat for this movie, but I'll give it. But for the scale, I'll give it 6 out of 10. Solid in the middle.
6.
Nice middle.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely far worse.
This is Josh's
Children's
highest
horror movie.
review so far.
Well, it's the closest thing to a movie that we've had, and it's not even really a movie.
Mallrats is a fucking movie, all right.
That's true. That's true. We didn't air that episode, so it doesn't even count.
No, we did.
Yes, we did. No, we didn't air.
We didn't air
another episode.
What didn't we air?
Mystery Men.
Oh, that's right.
That'll be on
The lost pilot for all the folks at home.
Those will be for the
yeah,
Patreon subscribers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Outtakes
give
from
us
the
money.
vault.
Yeah, right.
Hang on to that audio clip.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. If I had kids, I'd watch it with my kids.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Dad, you're a pussy."
I would never show this. Well, how old are we talking? Because I wouldn't show this to a
7?
little kid. 7?
Yeah. If he's old enough to drink a beer, he's old enough to watch this. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah. You just
saying.
crack a Four Loko with your son there.
Yeah. Cheers. Now
Cheers.
watch this, kid. This is an autopsy video. We're gonna watch it. I'm gonna have the coolest kid.
So disgusting. He's like, hey, fucking man up, it's spooky time. Dad, it's like January.
I know, right?
It's Christmas
Santa's a
morning. Why
molester.
are we outside?
Oh man.
Oh, we're gonna make great parents someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and realistically, 9. It's fair for this. 9, I'd do 9. 100%.
Wow, okay.
I would let a kid watch Freddy Krueger though, so I don't care. I have.
Oh, I fucking
So
saw
it
those
doesn't
movies
matter.
when I was about 9.
Yeah. Well, look how we turned out.
Yeah.
We're fucking. Yeah, we're
Fucked
fucking
in the head.
Yeah. Who's picking the movie for next week?
I am.
Zach.
Is it really Zach? I
I think
legitimately
so,
didn't
yeah.
know. I
That's my
legitimately
week.
didn't know. What do we
Yeah,
got?
so I mean, there's so many different things I could do. It's Halloween. I get 2 picks. I decided to make mine a little more silly and do kind of a spoof, a parody of sorts of the classic 1950s B movies. We're seeing things like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman and Them and things like that.
Such good movies, though. I love
so
that.
Mine, a parody from 1978, will be Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Oh shit!
All right, I'm actually stoked about that.
Me fucking too.
Yeah, me too.
I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
It's on Tubi, so go check it out there.
That's a fantastic choice.
Excellent.
Which studio did that movie? Is that the same as Toxic Avenger?
I was talking about this with my buddy the other day. He was telling me it was some kids who were just out of college or something, I think.
Who released it, though?
It was like really independent.
They sold it to a production company, though, right? I believe that's how that works. Or distribution company. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, you can make it independently and then have it just sell it to a distributor and they can put it out. But yeah, I think
that's like A23 does.
At the time.
Wasn't it like the same people who did like Toxic Avenger? I want to say it's
no. You're thinking of Trauma.
Trauma, yeah. Trauma never released that one.
I mean, that's the thing with Trauma. There's stuff they just release. They'll release it. They'll have the rights to just certain countries or for a certain amount of time. But but there's the core Trauma movies made by Kaufman.
Yeah.
Toxic Avenger and Sergeant Kabuki Man.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them.
Class of Nuke 'Em High.
Yeah.
This may have been.
What's the nerd one? The Killer Nerd. There's the Killer Nerd. There's like 8 of those. God, dude, there's so many.
No, I've seen a lot of Kaufman. I'm not sure about that one.
There's like a lot, dude. And it's
all. His last one was Poultrygeist.
Poultrygeist.
It's
not a pun on chicken, is it?
A fast food chicken restaurant, Evil Chicken. Big Lloyd Kaufman fan. We might get his stuff at one point. But yeah, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes will be the pick for next week.
I like it.
Fantastic.
That's a good pick. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. We are stuck on rewind. That was good episode.
Scary story.
Now I have sex with the cat.
Oh,
oh yes.
My wife.
Keep talking dirty to me.
We turn it off?
No, do not turn it off. We capture this part.
We turn it on.
We turn it on here.
This is for the paywall.
Yes. You want to listen to us do bad Russian
the pre and post.
Yes. Did you guys have good time? We had good time, yeah? My lover.
Man up, it's spooky time. Dad, it's like January.